Poop.
And we're live.
All right.
Here we go.
Now we can hear wind and breathing or something, John.
Well, it's windy.
Well, now I can't hear anything.
Where in the world is John Sonmez?
I'm just in Tampa though, so I'm just in downtown Tampa. I'm at Elliot Pulse's Growing Stronger event, and then he has a non-job summit for the next 2 days afterwards.
Yeah, it's impossible to hear you.
Really?
Straining and turning my volume all the way up just to hear you a little.
I can hear him. I can
hear the wind on his mic, but I can't hear him.
Is that better?
Yeah,
There we go.
that's
Talking right into the side of the mic.
Yes. Now
Anyway, I'm at Elliot Pulse's it's called Growing Stronger. It's almost like a day seminar, and then there's a conference for 2 days afterwards. He's like, I think I've told you guys about him before. He's like I've sent you his videos and stuff. He's kind of a crazy YouTuber, fitness, strength philosophy dude.
Huh. Yeah. So what's this conference all about? I've been curious.
So this first one that I'm at today, it's sort of just like, it's weird. Like, it's about becoming a stronger version of yourself. So it doesn't really. We didn't know what we were getting into when we first signed up.
Okay.
Like, it might be doing push-ups, or it might be like. So this one is a very philosophical. Let me get out of the wind. Sort of, he's giving his Joseph Campbell's hero's journey.
Okay.
Of himself, like going through and with his YouTube videos, and it's really funny because he just went through the phase that I'm in, which is that whole like, the stuff I've been doing for a long time that's made me successful has become slavery to me, and I'm a slave to it, and I'm afraid to let go of it, but I need to grow. And he basically stopped making videos for like 8 months, and then he's back now, and he's changed, and he's got a different, so it's kind of really interesting just to hear his journey, because I'm like bursting out of my chair. I'm like, oh. Like, there's probably no one else in the room that can really relate, because it's all 19-year-old kids that are like, watching his YouTube video for YouTube channel for like spring training and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, so it's kind of cool to see this, but he's definitely talking a lot of philosophy in this. I think it's going to miss a lot of people, but it's hitting me directly on, so pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah. So have you had any contact with him before this?
No. He's got this gym here in St. Pete, and he has these open gym days, which I've been meaning to go to, but I never did. I also thought about hiring him for some mentorship, because he does some coaching. I think like $300 an hour or so, but I never did. So I've got like a network. I've got a thing tonight for this first day is like the Growing Stronger. It's a bunch of 19-year-old kids and stuff, but then after that is this non-jobs conference. It's like 2 days, and he's got a bunch of speakers, and it's about creating, quote, a non-job, essentially entrepreneurship, right? Yeah. And how to, create a YouTube business and marketing funnels and all of this stuff. So it's kind of an interesting mix. So there's like a little mixer tonight, and then I paid for like this dinner party tonight or tomorrow night. So I should get to interact with him quite a bit. Especially being a person that went to both of the conferences, because there's not too many of us. So.
Cool. That sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty cool.
You've gotten really faint again.
Oh, great. Ah!
It was weird. Like you were talking, and like
Yeah.
your face wasn't moving, and then suddenly the volume went way down. So I don't know what's
That's
going
weird. It's like is my finger, one of my fingers, somewhere covering the mic?
on. Where is even the mic on an iPhone? It's not very clear.
It's on the bottom.
Yeah.
So if you look, I've
There's a
got
tiny little pinhole on the bottom ledge.
yeah. So if you right, you know, you have
Yeah,
the
but-
headphone
okay.
jack, and
Yeah.
then right next to it is the microphone,
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
and then the speakers on the other side.
Yeah. Well, that
Speakers
that
down
one's
here.
pretty obvious.
But yeah, so it's just right there.
So what's up with you guys? How's it going?
Well, I got
So-
a new car.
Yay!
Oh yeah.
Yay! So that's
What'd
why That's why I wasn't here last week.
Mustang, Corvette.
Yeah, totally.
DeLorean.
Yes, a DeLorean.
Lamborghini?
World's most unreliable car, but it looks good. No, I got a 2009 Subaru Outback, used, of course. Went down to Austin last Friday. I'd been looking at Outbacks for about 2 weeks and found a couple of different dealerships that had some in my price range. And went down, looked at one, and it was garbage. It was like rusty, and the interior was all busted up, and it was just totally worthless. The guy was charging list price for the miles, and it wasn't worth half of what he was asking. So I didn't even bother talking to him. I looked at it and just left. But the other one that I looked at is one I ended up buying. Ended up being from some little used car dealer out in Boondocks, edge of Austin, and he had it listed at $11,995, which was what the book value said. Kelley Blue Book said, and so I got to talking with him, and told him, my situation with my son and needing more space for a wheelchair and all that, and showed him the Honda Civic that we were trading in, and I expected him to offer like $8,500, $9,000 for the Civic, and was prepared to write him a check for a couple $1,000s to get that car without any car payments, and so he offers me $10,500 for the trade-in.
What?
Holy
Wow.
cow.
Which was pretty awesome. I mean, he took his time looking at the car. He scanned the VIN number and looked up the records for it and everything, and offered me $10,500 for the trade-in. And then on top of that, I talked him down another $500 off of his list price. So, so the difference between my trade-in and the car that I bought was only $1,000, and then plus taxes, tags, and titles, all that. I wrote him a check for $1,200 and drove away with a pristine condition 2009 Subaru Outback Special Edition. So it's got all the upgrades and whistles and bells and whatnot, and it's only got 94,000 miles on it, which for a Subaru is just getting warmed up.
Was there a hidden camera? Did you find the only honest used car salesman?
I think I actually did. I mean, I drove away thinking exactly that. Wow, I found an honest used car salesman, a decent human being that, he made sure he came away with some profit, of course,
Right.
but he didn't completely screw me over in this. It's a great car. It has all the room we need for a wheelchair and other things that we have to haul around. And
Are you sure you're not going to open the hood and there's going to be like a motorcycle engine in there?
He hits the gas, you get the moped sound.
little chainsaw on the back, hamsters running.
He's got two Power Wheel, and like
Couple of batteries in the back.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Wow.
I've done enough with cars that I kind of knew the things to look for, and I was calling my dad every other minute, asking him questions about it, and my dad has been an auto dealer for my whole life and has rebuilt wrecked cars, hundreds of times. So I got lots of good advice from him, questions to ask, and things to look for, and all that, and And I haven't had any problems with it yet. I've had it for a week now. I got the oil changed. I put new windshield wiper blades on it. I made sure all the fluids were topped off. So I mean, it turned out to be the right car for us in terms of size and functionality, but also in price range. So I'm pretty dang happy about that. And still no car payment, which is awesome.
Awesome.
Yes.
So yeah, that was my last week. Are you like trying to get run over or something, John?
It's downtown Tampa. It's like at the Holiday Inn,
Go stand in the middle of the street for your Entreprogrammers call.
Derek, how's Watch Me Code going?
It's going okay. I currently have 420 active subscribers, which is down by 3 from 2 weeks ago. I had 423 subscribers, but it's up from 417 last week. So I went down, but then I started coming back up. I've got the first 200 people running through the drip campaign that we talked about 2 weeks ago with the best of Watch Me Code or not the best of Watch Me Code, the benefits of Watch Me Code with the free videos that I emailed about twice, and then the hard sales pitch starting the week after that. So I've put 200 people through that, and so far I've only had 3 people become subscribers out of that 200, or at least 3 people use that discount code out of those 200 people, which is an okay conversion rate. It's like 1.5%. I mean, at least people are converting, right? That's a whole lot better than 0. But it's kind of at the same time a little bit frustrating because at my current rate of adding 300 new subscribers to my mailing list every month, I'm only going to get like 4 or 5 new subscribers every month out of this, if that conversion rate holds at 1.5%.
Mm-hmm. Well, but that's ongoing subscribers that you didn't have before.
That's true.
So that's like, that could be 30. How many per year? Like 40 or 50 per year.
Yeah,
right?
but I'm losing like 15 or 20 a month. So I need to. I need to find something, and I'm certainly not going to stop this drip campaign. It's part of the solution here, but I need to find some additional steps to take to get a more regular, larger number of people coming in so that I can continue growing the subscriber count.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and I think one for you, one option might be webinars. That might be your best. Like you could do one webinar and get 500 subscribers. That would not be hard. That would not be hard at all. You could do a webinar for John's audience and get 500 subscribers. And once you've got 2 or 3 webinars, you can just find new partners and offer what you've got, and it's kind of canned.
Right. Yeah, and I'd be happy to talk about any webinars on JavaScript Jabber as well. I mean, as long as I'm not pushing them all the time, I can mention it on a show or 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably the best hack for you. That's not like where you're not having to shell out for advertising.
Yeah, there's that, and then a number of weeks ago, Chuck had suggested contacting user groups. Wow, John, that sounded like...
That is bad gas, dude.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
I'm gonna go deep into the garage, where I'll probably get raped, but it'll be more quiet.
Just go up where you busted that guy's kneecaps. No one will mess with you up there.
Right.
Let's not talk about that job.
That's what John really gets paid for.
Yeah. He's like, I'm going to show you how to be a stronger version of yourself.
How
Don't
to market
cry.
yourself as a hitman.
But other than that, it's just kind of been another week for me. Haven't done a whole lot other than trying to put out blog posts and trying to keep up with producing screencasts. The big thing I'm panicking about right now is my November conference talk, which is November 15th, and I have all of like 4 slides with 5 bullet points. So I kind of need to get going on that talk and get
You
that
could
done.
stretch that out for 20 minutes, right?
Honestly, I could.
Yeah.
I mean, I could stand in front of the audience and talk forever. But I want something coherent. I want to tell a good story. I want to have my cute little stick figure drawings. I want to do all those things that make it my presentation and not just stand there and talk like some people do. Which, some people can do it, and they do a good job of it. Most people don't, though.
Have you incorporated those talks into your drip sequences at all?
A little bit. I've got a couple of them in my best of Derek Bailey blog posts.
Yeah, that's a good place for them.
But I haven't put them into any of the sales pitch campaigns.
One other thing.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, one other thing that came to mind was, and this is something that Reuven Lerner's been doing for programmers, is he's been curating a list of conference talks for people to watch, and you could actually do that in general for JavaScript and just say, hey, these are really great, and then just have as a side note, hey, I actually kind of do a conference talk every week for Watch Me Code that is a demo or something. I don't know. You can turn it around that way.
Yeah, I've been looking for thinking about doing something like that for a 5th email, because I'm sending 4 emails a week now, except for Fridays, and I thought about doing a curated link list, similar to what Peter Cooper does, but I've avoided doing that because there are so many good link lists out there already.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea of doing conference talks would be really good, because I do watch a fair number of conference talks on YouTube and other places, and I could send one a week on Fridays and say, hey, check out this video, this talk, it's really good. Here's the things that I got out of it. Might be an interesting thing to do for a Friday email.
Yeah, especially kind of like ahead of the weekend where people would have some time to actually watch it. And definitely you'd only probably want to include one.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's 30 hours of video.
Yes, go watch it by tomorrow.
Weekend. Yeah.
This is your homework for Monday.
There will be a test.
That's really it for me. Not a ton going on. Just kind of treading water and wondering when I'm going to make time to finish my conference talk. So
I guess I'll jump in since I'll be leaving here in a little bit. Trying to think. So I did. I've been talking about Perfect Audience, getting that set up.
Yeah.
And I put in all the flags. I'm using Google Tag Manager. I don't know if I mentioned that last time, but it's freaking awesome. So nice to have all of your scripts in one place, and to be able to make them trigger on whatever you want and control the order and different page events and test it. You can test it. This is the awesome thing, okay? So you can put it into test mode, and you can go to the website, and it'll show you exactly what tags triggered. So that's cool. Totally awesome. So I've got Perfect Audience set up now, segmenting my audience essentially into subscribers or people who visited the blog, people who bought How to Market Yourself course, people who signed up for the blogging course, people who visited the checkout page on the How to Market Yourself course, people who visited the blogging sign-up page but didn't sign up, and people who bought the workbook for the blogging course. So I can use that to make specifically targeted campaigns to all those people. And then one problem I was having is like I just ran into this block. Like I don't know how to create ads. Like I suck at it, and it's. I mean, the copy I could probably come up with. I still don't like. I don't feel very confident in it, but the images, I'm just like, what the fuck do I do? Like I don't. Like I just have no like. I like take a picture of my book and then like put some words next to it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
So finally I was like, screw this. You know what? I just need to go to 99 Designs and just pay for, pay for this. And so that's what I did. Is I've got a design contest going now for like a couple of graphics for this one will be for people to buy How to Market Yourself to retarget them if they've already visited the sales page to check out. And then I'm going to write a bunch of copy. I'm just going to run like 8 ads all against each other, and then just keep on with a couple of different images, and then I'm just going to switch it out, and I'll just take the top performers, and that's what I'll utilize. So
Nice.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
But yeah, so I think that's what I'm gonna do. I still don't feel very confident in that whole advertising bit. I guess I don't know. I was thinking, Josh, do you think Perry Marshall's Facebook advertising book would help me for perfect audience for retargeting for Facebook?
That's a great question. I haven't read it yet, so I can't really comment.
Okay.
But it probably would help you understand audiences better.
Yeah.
So for the money that you'd spend, it probably would be well worth it.
Yeah, the money is not a problem. It's the time of reading it, but
yeah.
Okay, I might do that. I mean, I just have to bite the bullet, and I have to learn how to create ads and run advertising. Otherwise, I'm just going to be stuck in the situation. At least I've got the creative side out of the way. If I can just get a design contest for $200 to get creatives created, it's kind of expensive, but hell, it's worth it because they're going to look good, and I won't have to worry about that, and I can just come up with a concept idea.
Yeah.
And I can get multiple out of it actually, because if I pay for I paid for a $199 competition, which is like the highest level competition, and then I think you can hire the second place as well. So I think I can probably get like I'll probably get 4 banner ads out of it, which with the various sizes as well. So that'll give me something to work with. But,
Perfect Audience is all banner ads, right?
It's you can retarget to web, which is a banner. Different sizes, Facebook newsfeed and Facebook right-hand side. So my primary one is Facebook newsfeed because that's where that has the highest engagement. So that's what I'm really trying to utilize. So
and are those curious how those work? Do they do you enter like all the stuff into Perfect Audience and then they push it through to Facebook via like an API?
Yeah. Yep.
So they've like recreated the Facebook ad tool.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll see. And they're controlling the audience segmentation for you, so you're figuring out. So I don't know. We'll see how it works. I mean, it's low hanging fruit. It's something I should be doing. It's the cheapest advertising you can do is retargeting.
Yep.
And Perfect Audience is probably the best for Facebook, and Facebook is probably the best that I could be doing. So. So that's that's the plan there.
Cool.
And then I got some. I'm still working on the. I've got like 5 versions of the workbook that I paid for. I had 2 people create the workbook for the blogging course from my Word doc from Fiverr, and one of them came out pretty good, which is what I'm selling right now. One of them was okay, and then I hired 2 people on Odesk, and I hired this one Indian guy for like $17 an hour. And I was like, oh, I don't know if and I gave me an estimate, and he was like 4 hours. So he actually did it 3.5, and his came out really good. And then I hired that Italian guy I did for my other workbooks, and he was able to bust it out in like 3 hours for about the same price. So so I've got a few options now, and I did it primarily just to I need to have a good designer who can create books for me, so at least and have a backup. So now I feel like I've got that. I'm trying to kind of assemble the pieces of my team, like, so that I can get all these things done. I might eventually need to have someone to actually just run ads for me, but I think I have to do it myself first before I can handle that piece. But
yeah,
I've just been feeling like I'm at this stumbling block point where it's like it's in uncomfortable territory because the thing I need to do is move forward with paid ads, but I don't know enough about it. I don't feel confident in it, so I'm like procrastinating and not getting stuff done. So, but I'm moving the ball forward. So we'll see what happens. It's just I have to realize it's going to be a learning experience. So, but yeah, that was the main thing I was working on. Oh, my wife bought me to go see Tony Robbins for 6 days. Date with Destiny.
Man, that is a long conference.
Yeah. 6 days.
It's a seminar, so it's like 6
Oh
days.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, in Boca Raton over there. So I'll be doing that in December, and I don't know. I'm a little skeptical of it, but I don't know. I think it should be a good experience. I think it should be a life-changing type of experience. So we'll see. If you don't like it in the first 3 days, you can get a full refund. You just turn in your stuff.
Okay, that's pretty. That's a long time to make up your mind.
Yeah, that's a long time to make up your mind, right?
Yeah.
So that makes it seem pretty legitimate, and I mean Tony Robbins is pretty legitimate as far as. But I'm always skeptical of something like this. So.
Yeah. What else of his have you read have you read anything else of his besides the money book we talked about?
I read the money one, and then Ultimate Power, or no, I can't remember if it was Ultimate Power or Awaken the Giant Within. One of those two. I don't remember which one of the two. But.
Does he actually do firewalking at some of his stuff?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah.
I think I'll be doing firewalking. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I remember when I was working on the chiropractor. I remember when I was working on the chiropractor stuff. That was kind of a throwaway line in one of the videos. Was like he called them these off-site firewalks. Like this is a popular. Apparently, like you take the chiropractic team, off to the seminar, and everybody firewalks and beats their chest around the campfire. So. But yeah, you don't have to do push-ups on the hot coals.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
How much do those events cost? I'm curious.
This one is I'm like in the side room, not in the main auditorium, and it's $5,000 I think for the 6 days.
Yeah.
If you're in the main auditorium, it's more. Oh no, maybe it's $4,000. It's 4 or 5. It's $1,000 more for the main auditorium, and for diamond seating, like right up in the front of the main auditorium, it's like $7,500, I think.
Yeah, it's funny because I talk to people that they look at that amount for that kind of a seminar, and they're just like, "Why would you spend that kind of money?" But I mean, if you have a couple of major breakthroughs, it's there's your money's worth right there.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean,
and he's been doing this for years, so.
Yeah, I mean he's the best, the most famous, right? Like, there's no comparison, right? As far as this industry goes. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 years ago I would have been like, what? $4,000 on a? Are you crazy? What's the hotel? But now I'm like, well, it makes sense. Like you said, if you have one breakthrough or a couple of good breakthroughs, you'll easily make that money back. So.
Well, if you just need one $4,000 breakthrough.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing is, right, this is the guy who is the best seminar person in the world, and I've been thinking about doing seminars eventually, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so I'll be seeing how he does it and learning from the best, and I can set up I could set up a 1 day or 2 day seminar, and I'm sure that I could charge for that and fill up a room. Maybe not as big of a room as he could fill up, but I could at least it's definitely a place where my business should go.
Well, and that he has a team of people that set up the seminar, right? I mean, they do it the way that he does it, but they set it up, and I wouldn't be shocked in the least if you look around and you see them standing in the back of the room, kind of keeping an eye on things, and you might be able to go connect with them and actually get kind of the inside track on that if you're interested.
Exactly. Yeah. Also, you can get into those seminars for free if you volunteer. There's like a crew thing, so if any of you guys are interested.
All I can say is every time I hear the name Tony Robbins, I think Shallow Hal.
Nice.
So my deal is that I really liked the Money book. I know a few people who swear by his other books. I know a few people who swear about his other books. And so for me, I'd probably go read Awaken the Giant Within, and I think he has 2 or 3 other motivational books. And then I'd make a call. Okay, I want more of this in person, or I could take it or leave it or whatever.
Yeah. It's weird. I've become a lot more open-minded person in the last couple of years, just as I've discovered a lot of things that I would have been completely skeptical of in the past, like Think and Grow Rich or or Psychosovereignty, or just all this, and that, I mean, those ideas which I completely thought were loony, ridiculous, snake oil, are the things that have basically propelled me forward. So, it makes me just have an open mind to just say, look, okay, well, I'll go and I'll see, and maybe it's a scam, and if it is, then I'll get my money back and I'll learn the lesson. So.
Well, that's the thing too, is that I found that, like, I'll read a book and I'm just like, oh, it blew my mind, and I start doing what it said to do, and it makes a major difference for me. And then somebody else will go read the book and they're just like, yeah, well, it didn't quite do it for me. I was bored. I tried some of the stuff and it didn't work. So, if it connects for you, I'm not going to argue about it. It worked.
And it was interesting too. Like, I think actually Elliot Hulse was saying at this seminar today, kind of an interesting thing. He was talking about symbols, and he was talking about, because he was talking about, like, he did some video on chakras, right? And some guy emailed him and was like, Elliot, come on, do you really believe this BS? Chakras are BS. And Elliot was like, yeah, they are actually, but they're a good metaphor for something that is real. Like, and he was talking about this point that everything, symbols are metaphors, and like, it doesn't necessarily have to be true, but the symbol can be true. The metaphor, if it works for you, if it causes you to, like, I think this is so true. Like, you can have, someone, like, I don't know if you used to watch Mr. Wizard, and he used to always say, like, you were right, but for the wrong reason. You guys remember that? Anyway, you could be right, but for the wrong reason, and that it doesn't change anything. Like you could have a totally different interpretation of the way things or why things work, but just almost like a cargo cult, but an actual working one, is it still works. Like, even though the explanation is totally wrong for what you're actually seeing, the rules and the sort of metaphor, the analogy you're using to describe this thing that you don't fully understand works, and when you apply it, it works. So I think that's what my mind has really opened up to a lot lately, is that a lot of times when I read some stuff in books or someone's got some kind of far out there concept, I don't just say, like, is this right or wrong? I say, is this a system that could work even if it describes it, even if the system itself, like, what it's saying is incorrect, but does it create like an alternate rule of games for reality, that the underlying reality is can be governed by these same rules, even though those aren't the actual rules. But I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah, that does make sense, actually.
It's the same reason why a lot of different strategies work that are in conflict with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Because especially like in the weightlifting, right? In bodybuilding, there are high reps, low reps, right? There's in diet, totally opposite approaches, but two people still get good results. It's because even though those things are technically in conflict, there's a certain universal truth that's behind it all that neither one of them is describing, but they're both metaphors for.
Mm-hmm.
So Anyway, enough of the deep philosophy. But oh, I had another milestone today. My YouTube channel subscribers clicked over 10,000.
Nice.
So
Nice.
I've been waiting for that.
So you're gonna quit doing videos for 8 months.
Not quite. And for anyone wondering about like what does that mean, like as far as like revenue, so every 10,000 subscribers you have on YouTube is worth about $200 a month of YouTube revenue. So if you see someone with 100,000 subscribers on their channel, they're probably making $2K a month, and if you have 1 million subscribers, you're making $20,000 a month, and you're having a good old time. But so yeah, that was the goal for the year, was to hit 10K, and I hit it before the end of the year. So
Nice.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah,
And that revenue number, that's ad revenue, right?
yeah. There's still sponsorship opportunities, I suppose. So that's the other big target after I hit perfect audience, is I need to fill up my sponsorship. Thanks for sending me that, Chuck. That your
Press
market.
kit?
Yeah.
Whatever
That
you wanna
press
call it.
kit is awesome. I'm definitely gonna have to get something like that created. I actually I have an interview with the guy. You saw Brian. If you guys saw Brian Harris's video for his latest email, he's doing sponsorship for his newsletter.
Yeah.
He
Yep.
wants to get up to 10K. So I forgot the guy's name, but he hired someone to help him get 10K sponsorships. So I immediately emailed the guy, and I have a meeting with him next week. And I'm basically going to tell him, hey, I want to do the same thing you're doing for Brian Harris. Like, just fill me up with sponsorships. Like, what do we got to do? Because if he's an expert at that, then that's exactly what I need, because that would make the job a lot easier. But if that fails, I'm just going to build a repeatable process for selling out a quarter at a time, and build a media kit and come up with an exact way. Like, do it manually and then make it automatable, and then hire someone to do that every quarter, or to fill out the quarters. I think that makes sense. I've been reading a book called Built to Sell. I don't know if you guys have read that one.
I've heard of it.
It's good, real good. It tells it in a story format, but it's been making me think. It's like kind of like E-Myth revisited, but it's been making me think about really thinking about building a business or changing my business into a way that it could be sellable in the future. So some pretty interesting concepts there. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for me. I'm still sort of, I've been still kind of taking it easy. Like, went and played a poker tournament on Monday, and I'm not like, I'm trying to like get stuff done as I feel inspired to do it, as opposed to like making it, forcing myself. And that when I do that, things work out much better. Very much. And now I got a leaf blower.
Oh my goodness.
But the last bit I have to share is my the diet. So I'm still on 80% fat, fasting till 5. It's working. Like, I'm losing weight. My body fat's dropping. I don't think I'm losing much muscle. My strength is up. It's been what, like 3 weeks of that, I think. Maybe. Yeah, maybe 4. I don't know. Maybe 4 if you count the other fasting thing. But anyway, I'm starting to doubt that there's a benefit, from real benefit over just calorie restriction for ketosis and for fasting until 5. I'm not sure if that actually. The 1 meal a day, the biggest benefit, and I talked about this before, but I think the biggest benefit is just that, hell, if you can eat one 3,000 calorie meal, it's pretty easy to like go into maintenance mode. And if you can get into the habit of doing that, then you basically aren't going to get fat, and it makes things easier. But I don't think there's any benefit beyond that, and I'm starting to think for ketosis and for that. So. But I am about to, I think next week I'm switching over to a diet called Ultimate Diet 2.0. It's based off of it's a modification of a diet called the Body Opus diet, and it's basically 4 days at 50% calories, and then and then you basically do depletion workouts to completely deplete glycogen levels, and then you have a 2-day carb loading phase where you load up carbs and super compensate your glycogen reserves, and then you have like 2-day regular eating, and then the cycle starts over again with a 4-day 50% maintenance. I've seen results of people on this. It's a very scientific diet. So I think that's what I'm going to try, because you can actually lose fat and gain muscle at the same time on this diet, simply because you're doing it in phases, right? Because it's also manipulating the hormone levels so that you don't get, like, when you diet for a while, you start to drop your you start to basically, no, there's actually someone playing guitar and singing. Anyway,
Wow.
your body starts to adapt to it, and it becomes less effective. So
What you need to do is get turn the leaf blower loose on the guitar player.
there we
Let
go.
them have it out, and then come in and pick up the pieces.
So that's my plan. I think that'll be better, and then it'll be easier to maintain too. I can easily go 4 days on 50%, knowing that I can carb up for 2 days and eat a bunch of junk. So we'll see.
Nice. Yeah, for me, that would be pretty tough actually, because I'd only be eating around 1,000 calories, if that.
Actually, so what he says with that, I'm blanking his name. It's Lyle.
Lyle McDonald?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I know. I've heard him.
Yeah. He basically says that, if you're a smaller person, you're kind of in trouble because you really shouldn't go below 1,200 calories.
Yeah.
So what you have to do is add cardio to it. So you drop to 1,200 and then add cardio, and then you'd basically, that's how you make up the deficit. So.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, because I was like, I think when I did my year-long thing, I was like around 1,200 calories or 1,400. I was between 1,200 and 1,400 calories at the end.
Yeah,
and it was tough. It was really tough.
Yeah, when you get down that low, it gets tough, and you got to really add cardio, otherwise you're going to waste your muscle weight, because you got to have a certain amount of protein as well. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, Lyle McDonald actually talks about, I just saw an interview with him, like his latest interview, one of his latest interviews. He talked about that he thinks actually now, he thinks that the real key to any of the diets, like he's not totally convinced on ketogenic. He wrote the book on the ketogenic diet. He wrote a book called The Ketogenic Diet, with the most scientific, like 350-page book. And he thinks now that the reason why people have success is because they have their protein.
Because of the extra protein.
Yeah, he says that he thinks that's the primary factor that influences, the transformations. Is basically just up your protein. So I don't know. It's interesting, but I mean, I've experimented everything. Right at this point, like I'm thinking about writing a book, like just like giving reviews of all the different diets and why they work, why they don't, challenges, and I have not found anything that is magical, nothing that actually makes any more difference than calorie restriction. So, at least noticeable. So
yeah,
that's it for me.
Well, I know people who have lost weight on all kinds of different diets.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately what it comes down to is I think some people's bodies are more they react better to some diets than others, and I also think that a lot of it just comes down to when they're in a position where they have more discipline and are able to stick with it, and then are able to maintain afterward. And who knows which of those plays a larger role.
Yeah. Yep.
It's not an exact science yet. Otherwise, they would just be saying, if you eat this way, period, you will be as healthy as you can be, period.
Yeah.
But there's no consensus on the science.
Exactly. Yeah. I did a video, like I did Periscope. I should have put it on YouTube, but I didn't want to, because I was like, because I use a lot of language in it, but this video called, this Periscope called Quit Effing Around, and I just talked about like you just basically get serious and like, okay, do you want to drag this crap out over 3 years and be like, oh, I'm trying to lose 20 pounds, it takes you 3 years, you're doing all these diets, you're doing all this crap, and you never hit your goal, or just like suck it up for 3 months and just, yeah, it's gonna suck, your life is gonna suck, it's gonna be hell, but just quit effing around, just like suck it up, you know, and just bear it out, do it one time for 3 months, and then you're good. But
Yep. Dead air.
I could talk about some stuff that I've got going on. So this morning I actually talked to a group in South Africa. It's a code boot camp. It's actually a 9-month boot camp, which I hadn't heard about before. You know, most of them are 3 months or 6 months, or they're real short, and it's just kind of a, hey, we're gonna get you in and get you right back out. And anyway, it was really nice. It just felt like I could make a difference, you know, talking to some brand new programmers in an area. They were in Cape Town, South Africa, and they were saying that, you know, the coding community out there was not as large as you know, as they would like for, you know, for reaching out and things like that. There were people there, but not a large number of programmers. You know, and so it felt like, you know, they could have somebody come in from a different place in his career, meaning me, and talk to them about what they could do and where they were at, and, you know, answer some questions and talked about some of the things they're concerned with, and it was really just really highly fulfilling for me. And so I really...
You do it virtually?
Yeah, I did it over Skype.
Okay.
And it was just awesome. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. It was just... Anyway, I really had a positive experience with it.
Did they do Q&A too, or?
Yeah, it was mostly Q&A. They asked me to talk about how I got into programming and into a programming career. You know, they were like, yeah, we're sort of interested in your media stuff, but we're mostly interested in, you know, how you got into your career. And so I just talked a lot about, you know, my experience as a full-time employee, finding a job, things like that, and then also as a freelancer. They had a lot of questions about that too, because I guess not all of them are convinced that they'll be able to find a full-time job in the area that they live in once they graduate. So yeah, it was awesome. And I actually did 2 podcast appearances yesterday on shows that aren't mine. I guess I have to specify that, since most of the appearances I do in a week are on my own shows. But I was on the Cloud Radio show, and they actually, like the calendar invite actually listed a OC Talk Radio in Costa Mesa, California, and they just called me on the phone and had me.
Oh, wow, cool.
Yeah, so I'm sitting there staring at blank screens in front of me with my earbuds in, talking to them over the phone.
Nice.
But that was fun, and they had a lot of questions about just the cloud and kind of the way programmers see it, and how to think about the cloud and how to use it in your business and things like that. And the other show was Read the Source, and we actually got on and read Clearwater, which is it's a front-end framework that's written in Opal, and Opal is a Ruby implementation that transpiles to JavaScript. So bend your mind around that for a minute. And
Derek, there you go. Now you can go back to your Ruby roots.
That's right.
Not sure I want to.
It was really, really fun and really interesting. So
yeah, sounds like it.
It was an hour and a half.
You're actually reading the source code of a framework?
Yeah. So Jamie Gaskins, the guy who wrote it,
he
was on the call. It's a rather small framework as far as like the number of lines of code and stuff.
I was less concerned about the lines of code and more concerned about the idea in general. That's really interesting. You guys have joked about that on Ruby Rogues, I think. I seem to remember that in the past.
About which?
Joked about like reading code on Ruby Rogues before.
Yeah, we keep joking about doing a dramatic reading.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you? That's what I was gonna ask. Are you smoking cigars and you know, and doing a?
Is it
like
commentary? Is it like the director's cut where there's commentary and?
So it was over a hangout, and so Jamie shared his screen and kind of walked us through the code, and then we asked a bunch of questions.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, that makes sense with video. It's a video podcast?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that makes a lot more sense. I was picturing the audio version. And now we'll read the compiled JavaScript output.
There we go.
Yeah.
Open curly brace.
Yeah. Open curly brace, man.
Oh, interesting. No semicolon to end this line.
var I equals 0, semicolon. New line.
Do you feel the go-to, man? Can you see what I'm saying? And curly brace.
And look at the masterful way in which he instantiated that function. It's an anonymous function, mind you. It's not an instantly invoked function expression, just a regular function expression.
I actually had an idea, like, if you could pull this off, could you create an audiobook to teach someone programming, like, just through the ear? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you could figure out a really good way to pull that off, that would be extremely popular.
The problem is that programming is such a visual medium. I mean, you have to sit in front of the screen and type. That unless you can really give people that, where they can picture what they're doing, and picture the code that they're writing, and that's the hard part, is picturing the code that you're writing, because the syntax is so restrictive. Even when it's a less restrictive language, like, say, Ruby, where you don't have as much punctuation, it still has to fit the syntax or it won't work. So.
I gotta jump off here.
All right, John.
To the conference. All right, guys.
See ya.
Yeah.
See ya. Have fun.
It would be pretty interesting to try to do. I think you could teach a lot of teach beginners a lot of good programming concepts that way. It'd be interesting to see how far you could take someone. Because I think you could. There's things you could teach. Like, you could probably teach someone a for loop, right? And it might actually be easier to get the concept if you weren't distracted by the code initially, because you see that code and your brain melts the first time.
I've seen things that are not quite to the extreme of just audio, but there was an article that I read a number of months ago, a year or two ago maybe, where there was a group of people in some third world country that were teaching kids how to write software with pen and paper. And it was like 6 months into their class before their class even had a computer for anyone to sit down and try and write an actual working program. But they would write code on paper and hand it in, and the teacher would evaluate it and look at it and offer feedback on the code that they had written by hand. So it wasn't a functional working application, but it was code that in theory would work in the right compiler.
Yeah.
There was an algorithms book. I can't remember the name. Was it I forget the name of it, but it was like a PDF that I'd gotten my hands on, and it was like teaching algorithms in sort of plain language. It was like story problems, and then they had like a pseudocode that you would use, and it was pretty good. It was pretty helpful.
Yeah, but algorithms are patterns. And so you can teach people patterns. I guess code is patterns too, but
it's implementation of the patterns.
Right. And because the implementation details require a level of detail where you're actually, like I said before, you have to get the syntax right.
Right.
I don't think you can passively listen to something and learn how to program.
Right.
And so if you're in a position where you have to actively stop and visualize what you're hearing, you may as well actually stop and visualize what you're seeing in a video.
Yeah,
I just don't see it. I mean, I could be wrong. I am happy to be wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I think you could teach patterns.
Yes.
You could teach concepts. You could teach.
I think that would be an interesting way to start.
Yeah.
Would be to teach someone some of the major patterns in programming, and then because that's what makes it so easy to start another language, right? Because all these, you know what an if statement is, you know what a you know what a for loop is, you know a lot of the basics, and so it's really easy to just look at the new pattern, look at the new syntax, and you've got it.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to teach someone like a Lego blocks version of it, where you've got you can write a program, with basically make functions that actually do useful things without having to understand the syntax first, and then diving into the syntax.
Assignment, append, iterate.
Yeah, exactly.
There are a number of board games for kids that attempt to do that, like the Turtles game. I can't remember what it's called. And
Turtles All the Way Down.
Yeah, it's.
I know which one you're talking about, because I keep hearing about it in my circles too.
And then there's another one called Sea Jump, which is like Chutes and Ladders. Robot Turtles, that's what it's called. There's another one called Sea Jump that I have. It's like Chutes and Ladders. It teaches basic iteration and algebra in the guise of code. There's this book that I got recently called Hello Ruby that teaches code through stories. It's all visual, but it's all stories, and it teaches code through that medium, and has little activities of cards and things that you do stuff with. There are a lot of mediums out there in which you can learn the concepts of code, and you can understand what code is and what programming requires and how it works. But getting down to actually making a computer do something typically requires writing syntax.
Yeah.
I agree, though, that we should be teaching fundamentals more often. I saw a tweet recently that said something like, I can't remember the exact word, but it says something about how absurd it is that teaching the fundamentals is considered advanced in software development. Everybody always
That's true. Oh gosh.
To the syntax,
Yeah.
I don't want to know the fundamentals. I don't care how it works. I just want to know how to write this stuff. Well, I can teach you how to pronounce syllables in Chinese, but that doesn't mean you know how to speak Chinese. Just because you can make the same sound with your mouth doesn't mean you're actually speaking the language.
Right. As opposed to basic grammar, this is a noun, this is a verb.
Yeah. These are how you structure sentences. These are the way these syllables flow together to form coherent thoughts, and
right.
All that kind of
stuff. Here's how you conjugate verbs. Here's how you.
Yeah.
Here's verb tenses.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I wonder. I'm just thinking about why that is. I think part of the problem is with programming. Computers are so darn persnickety. If you don't have the detail, it's almost like a kid. It would almost be like if the kid, when your kid's learning to speak, if they make a mistake, they're dead. It's almost like it's almost like that level of severity. So you're forced to learn the details before you really can understand the big picture. It's kind of the opposite of most real life type of scenarios.
I think also that part of the reinforcement that you get from code education is the fact that you can write a few lines and then immediately get feedback.
Right.
And so you have to be syntactically correct in order to achieve that.
Yep.
But in the grand scheme of things, I don't care if you can write print statements. I care if you can communicate clearly about a problem, and then together with other programmers implement a solution.
It would be really interesting to Derek, were you the one that was saying about the handwriting?
Yeah.
That would be a really interesting way to explore, especially teaching new coders, because that for copywriting, that is sort of what every experienced copywriter tells you: sit down and handwrite classic ads over and over and over until it's you start to absorb a lot of the detail. By doing that, it slows your brain down. You have to look at it line by line, and forcing people to really go through code at that level of detail could be a really interesting exercise.
That would be.
So So another breakthrough I had, I was listening to an episode of The Eventual Millionaire by Jamie Tardy, and this was yesterday. I went to the cafe and I was working on stuff. I listened to the episode Procrastinate on Purpose, anyway, the guy on there basically said that the problem that people face now, so the issue before was basically having the time or money or resources to get everything done. He said the problem that we face now is the fact that we have a zillion things to work on, and we get the dopamine hit from checking something off our list. And so we wind up working on things that are more easily accomplished instead of the things that are the highest priority.
This is the Achilles heel of GTD if you're not careful.
Right. So basically, what he said was, you have Stephen Covey's 4 quadrants. You have important and what is it?
Urgent, unimportant.
Urgent, important, urgent, unimportant, important, non-urgent, and unimportant, and non-urgent. And he said that we spend a lot of time working in the urgent and unimportant because we can check stuff off and we feel like we're getting stuff done. And he basically said that the next level up from working in quadrant 2 is really nailing that down and getting into quadrant 2, which is the non-urgent important, and making sure that we're working on the right thing, on the important thing, and just making sure that we're getting the important stuff done. And of course, then I immediately quit doing what I was doing and actually got the important stuff done. But for the rest of the evening, it was rather important that I did that. But it was really funny too, because I realized that I need to just say, okay, what is the next top priority, and make sure that my priorities are straight. And then the other thing that he said that really jumped out at me was he said that we need to be delegating more things. And so all of the other things that we can delegate, we should be. And he basically put up a rule that basically said that you should be willing to spend up to 30 times as long as it takes you to do something to teach somebody else to do it for you.
Wow.
And I was like, really? So basically his example was, so if it takes you 5 minutes to do something and you teach somebody else to do it in 150 minutes, that's 2.5 hours, by the way. You spend 2.5 hours teaching somebody else to do a 5-minute job for you, and you save that 5 minutes every day. He said that's 1,200 minutes that you saved for 150 minutes. And so if you can spend 30 times as long as it takes to teach somebody else to do something for you, you should do it. And that really drove it home to me that in a lot of cases, I can spend 4 or 5 times as long recording a video for it, and another 4 or 5 times as long answering questions and clarifying what needs to be done for my VAs, and then let them handle it. And even if I have to do support periodically, I'm not going to come anywhere close to that 30x, and it's going to save me, 100x or 200x
right
at the time. And so that really kind of made me step back and go, okay, so what am I doing now that I need to delegate that I haven't delegated because it'll take too long to teach somebody how to do it? And so I'm really getting serious about that and looking at things in a completely different way as far as what I can delegate. And the other thing that it really hit for me was that the thing that I was working on that I shouldn't have been was I'm pulling all of the online conferences into one website, into one web portal, so that I can, just spin another one up and then turn Mandy loose on it so she can do the majority of the work pulling it together. So I exploit's not the right word. I take advantage of the fact that I have connections to get certain speakers to come in, but then she handles all the scheduling, all of the other setup, and I just don't have to do any of that stuff. And so I was actually programming against that website, and I have a guy that I brought in to do that. And so I finished the feature I was working on, and then I switched over to the other thing that I needed to do that he didn't have time for. So I was still programming. I was programming against devchat.tv instead of allremoteconferences.com or whatever, and got that done so that I can invite the Kickstarter backers for Rails Composer into Rails clips. And, that was mostly done. It took me about an hour. But I kept putting it off because it wasn't as interesting or new or fun, but it was the most important thing that I needed to do. And so now I'm looking at it and I'm going, yeah, so the next most important thing I need to do is I need to go out and I need to nail down the sponsorship situation for the shows and, see if I can get some people to sign up to advertise on simpleprogrammer.com and see what else I can line up for some of these other things. And that really is the most important thing I can be doing. But I keep putting it off because I want to write code and I want to do these other things. And, unless it's contributing to my learning or helping me grow or helping me get ahead one way or another, and it's not to say that I can't do the leisure stuff or I can't do the programming, but if I'm doing work stuff on work time, and I'm using air quotes for people who are just listening to the audio, then I should be doing the most important thing and not necessarily the most interesting thing or the thing that I can get checked off my list the quickest.
Yeah, that's really good. I really like that 30x.
Yeah, blew my mind.
Yeah, I'm going to have to rethink, but it makes sense.
Yep.
The trouble I have a lot of times is I'm not always sure what I have that is going to be that repetitive.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? So it's like it's definitely not worth spending even 1x or 2x to outsource something if it's not something you're going to do every day or every week for the next 10 years.
Right. Yeah, for me, I mean things that are related to the sponsorships or things that are related to the conferences or things like that. I mean, that's all stuff that definitely needs to be delegated. Mm-hmm. A lot of the programming isn't stuff that only I can do, and so somebody else can come up with a solution to that, and it just has to work for me. So there are a lot of things like that that I can push off. I'm looking now at parts of my marketing pipeline and seeing what I can do to bring that in. So, for example, if I have somebody email me and say, hey, I'm interested in sponsoring this show, I want it to go into Salesforce.
Right.
And so I don't have to do that. I can either have somebody write some code that does that for me automatically, or I can have one of my VAs go through my email, and when those come in, they can go and put them into Salesforce. And if I spend, that's a 5-minute job, and so if I spend 2.5 hours showing them how I want it done, then every time it happens, then I don't have to think about it. So just things like that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm going to have to go back and think about some of the stuff that I'm doing. And one thing I'd really love to get off my plate is just, like, I'm doing my daily emails, and I publish those to my blog and to Drip, and then also sometimes to LinkedIn. And it would be nice to just have them have that happen all automatically.
Yeah, and there's no reason why you couldn't, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it may or may not be worth spending the time to write a little app that just posts it to all those places, mm-hmm. but it may be well worth paying somebody a few $100s a month.
Yeah.
To, pick it up off of your email list and post it to the other places, mm-hmm. or have you put it in one place and then he posts it to all of those places. So you send him a Word document or a PDF or something.
Yeah, that's what I want, like a shared Dropbox folder, and I just drop it in there and it happens automatically.
Yep, and then you just show them what the process is for posting to all those places.
Yep.
What are all the places you're trying to post to?
Right now it's just my blog. It's my blog, my Drip, and LinkedIn. And then I'd also like to post them on my Facebook page as full text. Like if I haven't done that because it's just more hassle. But yeah. So I'd probably do a little bit more with it. I'd also like to have the right now, like the titles of my emails work for emails, but they do not work well for blog posts. So I'd like to have a separate title for each blog post, other than the subject line for the email. But yeah, I just haven't bothered with a lot of that.
Yeah, and I mean, you could just come up with a convention for telling them which title to use in which place.
Yeah.
And then you just get them the file, and they go boom, 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 boom. They line it all up.
Yep.
And as far as drip goes, I mean, we all have access to the Entreprogrammers drip, so you can just give them access to that. You don't actually have to give them your credentials. Same thing with Facebook pages. LinkedIn, I think you'd actually have to let them into your account.
Right.
But, I mean, that's the only one of those.
Yeah. I could live with that if it was somebody I felt like I could trust. But, yeah, I just need to get, like 4 or 5 of those things.
Mm-hmm.
So that I feel like I'm not, like it's worth finding someone and training them.
Yeah, but you could also train them to do some kind of automatic outreach. So just tell them, okay, these are the things I look for in people that I'm kind of cold contacting, and this is the kind of message I send them with those personal details included, and so they can at least then initiate contact with people if you're really looking that way. You can hire them and then show them how to manage Facebook ads or Twitter campaigns or however you manage posting tweets to Twitter or anything like that. It also doesn't have to be stuff in your marketing funnel. I mean, it could be bookkeeping, and then they send you a report when they're done.
Yeah.
Or anything else where instead of you having to go look at all the numbers in Google Analytics, they can go pull that information out and then send you an email every week that, so they spend 2 or 3 hours pulling all the information you want together, and you spend 5 minutes looking at it, and you have a real good pulse on what's going on.
Yeah. Speaking of bookkeepers, do you guys have bookkeepers that you like?
Nope.
Nope. What about you, Derek?
I used to.
No?
I've never used a bookkeeper.
Okay.
I just found that it takes me a half hour to do my own books every week, and then I know what's going on. And I had bookkeepers before, and all it really served was to have all the information together for the tax man.
Yeah.
But I really needed to have that kind of finger on the pulse of my business as far as what I was spending and what I had coming in. So.
Yeah. Yeah, my coach Lori, she's got a bookkeeper that she pays about $250 a month for, I think, which is a lot. But
I think that's about normal.
They do a once a month, like 1 hour Skype call with her where they go through all the transactions and get them all categorized, everything, and then give her like a bunch of actual useful data about her business, which sounds pretty appealing. Like right now, I've tried a couple different bookkeepers, and it's okay. I mean, it's helpful, but like what I've found is that I've ended up having to like basically tell them what to do because they don't know what transactions are. So by the time like with QuickBooks, a lot of the transactions get categorized automatically, all the recurring stuff, and then the one-off stuff, I have to tell them what it is. So it's not really saving me all that much time, and I haven't found anybody who can give me like any kind of useful guidance or feedback on how I should be structuring things, and and there's like no feedback to me that's useful.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of thrashing around with it.
Yeah, I've been using YNAB. You Need a Budget, which is personal budgeting software, but I've been using it for my business.
Okay.
And so I just have all the categories in there, books and in-person training, video training.
Yeah.
And then I have like hosting and domain names and stuff. And so for me, it's meaningful because I'm like, oh man, I spent $300 on domain names this month. What domain names am I renewing? Do I need them all? But the other thing is that my accountant can look at that list of stuff and he can add it all up and put it all in the right place anyway. So that way I'm actually categorizing it in a way that means something to me. And then I can actually evaluate, okay, I'm doing well in these areas and I'm overspending in these areas, or a lot of times I just do the books and then I'm like, okay, I know where I'm at.
Yeah.
So
I have 150 unread emails in my purchases email folder, and that'll probably be closer to 200 by the end of the year. And sometime in January, I'm going to go through that list, log them in my little app that I use to track expenses, and that's it. That's my idea of bookkeeping.
Yeah, it depends on what you want. I mean,
yeah. I don't. I know I should be doing all those things you guys are talking about. I don't really care. I mean, I'm paying down my debt. I'm getting bills paid off. I'm living the comfortable life that I want to live right now. I know I could be doing a million times better, but I don't care to.
Well, the thing is that I don't see that you gain a lot of advantage then by being more detailed in your bookkeeping. I mean, I'm doing well enough. I'm not going crazy in any one area that I'm spending money in.
Right.
So I'm not really going to get a whole lot out of tracking it. For me, it helps me to understand the behaviors behind my business and what I'm doing. But I mean, if you're not going to derive that much value out of it, don't spend the time on it.
Yep.
Just do what you have to do so that when the tax man comes and looks at what you did, you don't get audited. Or if you do get audited, you can go, well, see, this is what I did.
Yeah, the one thing that I do every month, it's not any more than that, is I log my income for the previous month. Sometime within the first week of a given month, I'll log all income for the previous month I use Harvest for all of this. And that way I know what my income was so that I can set aside the money I need for taxes.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I don't really do a whole lot to organize during the year. I kind of do it all at once at the end of the year, make sure everything is recorded. The only thing I really do, I guess, is every time I do make a purchase, I make sure to put that receipt into my my little email inbox for purchases, and I leave it unread so that at the end of the year I know which ones need to go in.
Yep.
Yeah, the thing for me, the reason I'm doing it is because like 2 or 3 years ago, just doing my taxes, I think I spent like an entire day at least just getting all the stuff ready for the accountant, and I just was like, no, screw it, I'm not doing this again. And so now last year I think it took me 30 minutes total. I had a bunch of documents in a folder, and I scanned all of them into a PDF, and then I printed off my QuickBooks statement and scanned that and sent it over to him, and I was done. And
it takes me a couple of hours to enter all that at the end of the year, and well, it probably takes more than a couple of hours. It probably takes a good 3 or 4 hours to do that, but I don't do it all at once. I'll do it, in an hour chunk one day and an hour chunk another day. And by the time I'm done with all of that, though, I get all my expenses in there, all of my income's already in there. I put together all the donations that we've made and the receipts that we have for that, and a few other physical pieces of paper. But all of that gets put. I put all of that into usually Excel files that are formatted. Okay, this category of expense or income or whatever, here's the details you need to know. And I print out a handful of these pieces of paper from Excel and then bring a high-level summary printout of everything plus those mid-level details to my accountant in a little workbook. Or not accountant. Well, I guess she is an accountant, CPA. And in a little workbook, and they do everything else for me. So it takes 4 or 5 hours total time over a week or so, but it has never been bad enough that I've really thought, oh man, I need to keep up with this throughout the year so that I can not have to do this, because it's just creating summaries of everything and handing them the summaries.
Yeah.
Yeah, and see, for me, that 4 or 5 hours is murder.
Yeah.
If I do it for a half hour, then it's like, all right, I hit my limit, but look, I'm done.
Right.
And then I can just do it again the next month or the next week or whatever. So.
Yeah, and if I sat down and organized it a little better and made it more of a routine, I wouldn't complain about doing that, but it's not something that I've really felt a need to do. I mean, there's so many things in my life that I feel that way about, and that's probably why I am not moving forward as fast as somebody like John, or even as fast as you guys are in terms of career movement and income growth and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not that worried about it. I'm very comfortable where I am, and I don't mind things the way they are.
Well, and that's success. I mean, I don't think it's a race. It's
Right,
you know,
right.
It's, are you happy?
Yep.
So.
Cool.
All right.
Well,
Thoughts for the week?
Wow, we're gonna end this early?
Yep.
well, for me, so I had kind of a big downer day on Thursday. I woke up
Oh no.
and I was like, it was just one of those days where I was like, I was, for one thing, I've been having trouble sleeping again. So I've been getting like, 4 and 5 hours of sleep a night. And so I had like 2 nights of that back to back. And I just woke up and I was like, what am I doing? Do I really want to be a writer? Like, it was like this, like,
existential crisis.
We've all been there, I'm sure.
yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, do I really want to write like hundreds of emails in the next 3 or 4 years? Like, is that really what I want to do with myself? And so what I did was I like complained to my wife for like an hour while she was getting ready for mops, and then instead of forcing, like, normally I've been keeping a pretty good, like, basically 7 to 5:30 has been kind of like my work day, and I'm generally pretty disciplined about it, and I'm like, you know what, screw it, I'm my own boss, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what, I don't feel like working right now, so I didn't start work at my normal time. I screwed around, I read, I listened to some audiobooks and stuff for an hour or two, and I was like, well, okay, I need to write my daily email at least. So I wrote that, and then it was like, at this point it was like 10 o'clock, and I was starting to feel better about life and things in general. So yeah, so then I just like plowed ahead, and I got so this week I was doing emails for a client who's actually in the cosmetics niche. It's doing skincare stuff. So I was reading about skincare all week.
I'm sorry.
No, it was actually a lot of fun. I wrote an email today. I just finished an email about bee venom and snail slime. So
And snake oil?
Yes.
not snake oil, no. But yeah, so it's actually been kind of fun and interesting. But
Nice.
So I ended up cranking out like 3 or 4 emails for that yesterday after letting myself getting started later than I would have normally. I'm starting to recognize that I've got this mental point where I just cannot productively write. And it's different for me because previously with coding, even if I was really tired, I could still make progress and I could still write half decent code. Sometimes if I'd get stuck on a really big problem, it would be, I couldn't solve that necessarily, but I could still make progress on other things. And so I guess my thought for the week is to I'm learning to recognize that point where I just cannot be productive, and letting that be okay, and either doing something fun, and actually enjoying the fact that I'm self-employed and my own boss, or just finding something less demanding to work on. I cannot push past that. I can't. It's not a mental barrier I can push past without sleep. It's a long thought, but
yeah. My thought this week is along the lines of what I was talking about before. I mean, I was listening to that show, and I had those 2 epiphanies, and the main thing for me is just make sure that you're doing the thing that is the most important thing you can be doing. And sometimes the urgency is going to raise that level of how important it is, and sometimes it's just going to be something that, sure, it doesn't have to be done right now, but it's going to leverage itself far into the future with that 30x rule. And so, if I'm trying to work and I'm trying to be productive, then I've got to be doing those things. And then hopefully that will keep me from being in kind of that panic state where it's like, okay, crap, now it's important and urgent and right now and panic. Mm-hmm. And, a lot more of it can kind of be moved off to, okay, what's the next most important thing? Get that done. What's the next most important thing? Get that done, and not be up against the deadlines as often as I am.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to say my thought for the week, because I have two or three different things that I want to say, but they're all spawned from the same point, I guess, which is interesting. I guess overall that spawning point is appreciate the little things in your life. Just take the time. It's the whole stop and smell the roses thing, but just take the time to appreciate the little things in your life, and you'll find that life is a lot better. There's several different spawning thoughts off of that, including the one Sheryl Crow song that I actually do really like, "Soak Up the Sun," where she says, it's not having what you want, it's wanting what you've got. And that's an incredibly important thing to understand, is stop trying to always attain more and always want more, and appreciate the things that you already have, and appreciate the little things in your life. And more specifically for me, this week, that's been related to my son, because for the last 4 or 5 months he's had severe difficulties with movement and walking, and he's in a wheelchair most of the time, which is why we bought the Subaru Outback instead of the Civic. And this week he's had an incredibly good week. He hasn't been completely 100% better, but this morning I took him into the bathroom to go pee, and he stood without holding on to the rails that we have on the toilet now. And he was getting dressed, and he picked his leg up to put his leg into his shorts without holding on with both hands and tipping over. And so it's just those little things that you take for granted and don't realize how important those little things are, and how difficult it can be when those little things aren't there anymore.
Thanks for that reminder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
One thing that we were talking about this week is MicroConf. I know we kind of did the thoughts for the week, but
yeah.
Consider
this our email to Rob.
Right.
Poor Rob.
Yes.
He's got we've created another inbox for him.
Yes.
He's got his email.
All right, I gotta listen to Entreprogrammers, see what they want this week.
His podcast feed is now in another inbox. So we don't know the dates on that, right? And we don't know the costs. And
yeah, they haven't announced any of that yet.
I would be interested in speaking at it, especially if that would help defer the cost. Is that normal? Do they, for you guys, do conferences typically, if you're a speaker?
I won't do a conference if they don't offer flight and other expenses, flight and hotel.
Okay.
I don't always accept it, honestly, but if they don't offer it, I won't do the conference.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll say, hey, thanks for offering this. I'd rather have you spend the money on XYZ for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I at least want them to offer it, otherwise I'm not going to accept. In the case of MicroConf, I asked Rob about this last year, and MicroConf is always a hand-curated list of speakers.
I was going to say.
It's not something that you can submit a talk to and be selected. It's Rob and whoever Rob's trusted advisors are for MicroConf. They are hand-picking the people.
That is true for the majority of sessions. They did have last year I think they had
lightning talks, which were
they had like 3 or 4 attendee speakers that were shorter talks each day.
Right.
And essentially the way that worked was that the attendees could submit what they wanted to talk about.
But you had to go to the conference to submit it.
I believe that it was actually voted for online. I don't remember
really?
exactly.
I thought Rob said that you would submit it out there, but yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you had to be a paid attendee to try. But yeah, that was the closest they got to that. I don't remember exactly how it worked. So
yeah, the whole point, anyways, though, is I love the idea of all of us going to MicroConf. I think it's one of the few conferences that I would really be willing to pay for outright.
Mm-hmm.
Not be a speaker, just go to attend, because I think there's just a ton of stuff that I need to learn from the type of speakers that show up at MicroConf. And it would be a great way for all of us to get together and hang out for a few days. Plus, I have family in Las Vegas, so I might actually take an extra day beyond what you guys do and spend it with family there.
I just want to point out that my MicroConf experience was that the speakers and sessions were totally worth it.
Right.
But they weren't even the most close to being the most valuable part for me.
Well, conferences never are for me.
They had attendee basically events in the evening afterward where it was 2 or 3 hours. They had a space that was just open to attendees, and everybody got together and just met people and chatted. And that was easily the most valuable and best part of the conference.
Yeah, that's always how it is for me as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be speaking at November in the middle of the month, and I expect to have really good time as a speaker, and I expect to see some really good talks. Mm-hmm. But a big part of why I want to go is to get to be around friends and meet new friends and hang out with other developers that are interested in all this stuff. That's a huge part of why I like to go to conferences.
Who are the attendees? Is it primarily like developers doing startup stuff?
For MicroConf?
Yeah.
It's mostly for startups. A fair number were programmers, but a fair number weren't. There were quite a few people that weren't as well that were doing very interesting stuff. It was
the focus is
really
like
an interesting
micropreneur, self-funded bootstrapper type.
Yeah. That's for me. That's I'm trying to decide. Like, I have to prioritize mostly travel, somewhat budget also, but mostly travel time to go to conferences where I will meet people who would be potentially good clients for me.
Yeah.
And I think this crowd sound like I passed. There was one I really wanted to go to that was kind of similar. It was like smaller entrepreneurs and startups in September, and I passed on it just because I didn't think that it would be. I need people who have like existing businesses who have
that's the people
20K. They're selling 20K a month already of their online training course, and they want to take it up a notch.
There are a lot of those people there, and you're also going to meet a lot of the people who are connected to those people at Microconf.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I will have to think about it. More details.
I think you'll easily find people who need your kind of work that you'll be happy working with. But.
Yeah, and like I said, for me, I don't expect to find Watch Me Code subscribers at MicroConf. I expect me to learn at MicroConf, at least to be exposed to the things that I need to think about and learn about.
Yeah, I can tell you that with some of the attendee things, like there were a couple of things that I was looking at and thinking about, and I mentioned them to people that I was talking to at the conference, and I got told, "Oh, you need to talk to so and so." And so it was, I'm struggling with this in my business, or I'm thinking about, at that time this year, I was talking about, my conversations with Ryan Bates and trying to offer to buy Railscasts. And so I basically said, hey, how do I, evaluate whether or not I can make an offer that makes any sense? And they all hooked me up with Thomas Smale, who he specializes in buying and selling web assets, websites. And so I had like an hour-long conversation with him about how to evaluate it and how to value it and how to offer. There were some other things that I was struggling with the direction and the types of things I could do with my business. And I mentioned those to people, and they're like, so and so's done a lot of similar things to that, and that was what was awesome, was that everybody kind of got a feel for what everybody else was about, and so by the end of the conference, you knew the handful of people that you really did need to connect with to get the information you needed. So
cool. All right. Well, we'll have to collect more intel.
Yep.
Sounds like.
Yep.
I'm interested.
Definitely. All right.
Cool.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Yep.
See you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye.